Kia ora and welcome to Improve Your Client Reporting with Xero's new reports. My name is Nicole and today I'm going to talk about the changes to our reports and what they mean for you and your clients, and hopefully give you the confidence you need to make the switch to new reports. To ask your questions today at any time during the webinar, you can use the Q&A panel. You'll find it on your Zoom panel down at the very bottom. And when you submit a question, you'll get a reply from one of the amazing team helping me out in the background today. You will get access to an on-demand recording of today's session in about 2 to 3 days. So do take in as much as you can today with the opportunity to watch again via the recording when you receive it. So what can you expect from our session today? We will start by looking at the old reports in Xero and also new reports. I'll summarize the great features that you've probably known to love from old reports, and then how you can find them in new reports. And then I'll also take you through some of the extra things that new reports can do as well. We'll finish the session by looking at your next steps and what you need to do before we do retire those old reports. So one disclaimer that I have is that if you have been keeping up to date with the quarterly product updates, some of the things that I'll take you through today, you might already know of. So you can consider this webinar like a recap of everything to do with reporting. So it's up to you if you do want to stay on. I'd love to have you join me, but if you feel like you've got a good handle on the changes to reports, then feel free to give yourself some time back in your day. But for everybody else that is staying on with me, I have a poll that I'll be launching, and I will do that for you now. It should be in front of your Zoom screen. If you've got multiple windows that might be behind. And I've got 2 questions that I want to ask you. I just want to gauge where you're at with regards to reporting. So the first question is, which versions of reports do you currently use? Are you using old reports only, new reports only, a bit of a mix? You use some new, some old, or you're not sure how to tell the difference between the two? And then the second question is, which report do you use the most? Is it the profit and loss, the balance sheet, account transactions, age payables or receivables, or the executive summary? So I'll give you about 10 seconds to answer those polls. We've only 44 of you joining me today. So we've got a relatively small group, which means we can get into the thick of all the reporting changes. Okay, 5 more seconds. And I will end the poll now and I'll share the results with you so we can all see together where we're sitting. So we have about 15% of you that are using only the old reports, 12% of you using new reports only, and then most of you today are sitting in a mixture of old and new reports. And the 12% don't know the difference, but that's okay, because I'm sure by the end of today's webinar, you will absolutely know the difference between new and old reports. And then for question 2, it's a pretty close game actually between the profit and loss and the account transactions report. So lucky for you, I'm going to be showing you both those reports through the session today. So thanks everyone for participating in that poll. I will stop the share now and we can move on. So as you may have heard, we are retiring old reports as of 31 July this year. So you're just over a month and a bit away. So why have we made the decision to change the reports? Xero was developed with new reports as a result of your feedback. So you told us that the old reports didn't have the flexibility and customization options that you need to tailor the information to your clients' businesses. So the old reports that were built using technology from Xero's early days, so about 15 years ago was when old reports first started. So quite a long time in terms of technology. Think back 15 years ago, what number iPhone we were at. I think Blu-ray was just beginning. So you can see that 15 years ago in the technology world is it's like 100 years. So the technology behind old reports is definitely outdated. So it became difficult to maintain and update. So as a result of that, we have focused on upgrading the technology behind our reports so that we can deliver new features faster than before, and of course, give you more freedom to tailor those reports to the way that you and your clients need the information to display. So with this change, what will happen as of 31 July? Any old reports that you have in draft, they'll be removed, and anything that's published, you'll just get access to a read-only copy. Old version of reports, you obviously won't be able to select in Xero from 31 July. There are some exceptions to this until we do create new versions of those reports. So that is the budget manager, GST return, GST reconciliation, and the foreign currency gains and losses. Now, this report may have just been released, so we will double check that one when we are in Xero. Okay, so let's now talk about the main features that you told us you liked from old reports, and then I'll go through in Xero how we can actually achieve them using the new reports. So first up in old reports is the easy to select common formats for the profit and loss. So at the top of the old profit and loss, you can see up here, it gave you a lot of formats that you could easily select. Next is the helpful green and red visual variance indicators, telling you if something is favorable or unfavorable. There were options to easily compare dates with the same period for previous years, showing totals and year-to-date columns in the profit and loss at a click of a button. And then lastly, how quick and simple it was to add comments about amounts that you see in reports. So the good news is that you can still do all of those things, but in new reports. So we are going to jump over to Xero and take a look at this. I'll be using the demo company, so you all should have access to your own demo company. And I will be switching off my camera so you can really focus on the demo. Okay, so here we are in the demo company, and we're going to go to our report center, which is under the accounting menu. And from here, I'm going to choose the profit and loss, which based on the poll that I did just before, it is the most used report for all of you attending today. So let's select our profit and loss. And on the left-hand side is all our common formats. So you can see common formats here, and we've got quite a big list. So the first one that we'll look at is the budget variance. So if a budget has been entered and saved in Budget Manager, this report will compare actual figures to budgeted figures and show a variance and variance percentage. So if I minimize that as well, if I scroll down, you've still got the green and red arrows that you come to love from old reports, so they're in there. If I jump back to the common formats, you've also got some comparison options available. So you can compare by month, you can compare by date or year. And then we've recently introduced a new common format, which is this one here, the current financial year by month, actual and budget. So what this report will show is the actual figures to date with the budgeted figures for the remaining periods, and it can help your clients to see the profit they can expect for a period if they actually stick to their budget. If I open the formats again, you can just minimize. So all I've done there is just click the arrow icon and it minimizes the common formats, and to open them back up, you just click the same button. If we move down the list, we can also compare our tracking categories. So in my demo company, I have 2 tracking categories set up. I've got presenter and region. Whatever you name your tracking category, that's the name that's going to appear here. So it might be different in your own demo company or your client's file. So let's take a look at, we'll compare the region. And if I minimize that, this will show our tracking compared for each region in our tracking category. So the more category options that you have already set up in Xero, obviously the more columns that you will have here. So if we go back to the common formats, these are quite handy if your clients want more detailed reporting, and they can actually self-service these so you can spend more time focusing on things like compliance or year-end reports. So once you've shown them where they can find these common formats, then you'll obviously get that helpful time back. So I'm going to return to the standard profit and loss, which is found up here. If you have any custom reports that are saved, they will also display in this list as well. So you will see that as we move through the demo. So I'll go back to our standard profit and loss report. And what we'll look at here is comparing the tracking categories. So this is a new option as well. So it currently says none, but if I click into it, I can see my 2 tracking categories. And if I further drill down into it, I can then see all my category options. So any category option that you've archived, you'll be able to see if you tick show archived, or you can select your individual category option, or you can select all. So you can do the same for your second tracking category. And the cool thing here is you can also compare for multiple tracking options. So you can compare your presenter and your region, or whatever you call your 2 tracking categories in Xero. So I will select all of those and click apply. Now, the next step here is to click update, because in order to apply any changes to a report, you do need to click update. So as you can see, we're comparing the tracking category. If there's no category assigned, it does sit under undersigned, and then it will have a category option. This one has one side of the tracking, but not the other. So this is where you could run these reports and then use find and recode. If you notice anything that's sitting in unassigned, you could then recode it to the correct category, because you're seeing both tracking categories side by side. So that one has just recently come out. Okay, let's now look at how you can choose and compare dates easily with new reports. And I'm going to start by mentioning a little keyboard hack. Everybody loves a keyboard hack. So did you know that you can bring up the date range menu by pressing Shift and D? So if you're really good on your keyboard, I probably will still use a mouse if I'm being honest. But if you do like those keyboard shortcuts, Shift D is what will bring up the date range automatically for you. And from here, you can choose this month, this quarter, this financial year. You can do the same for last month, last quarter, last financial year. And then if you want a custom date range, you can choose the calendar here. You can also just type in the date if you know it. You could go 14 June 2023. And you could add a plus icon. And if you want the report to say 14 days from today, you can do plus 14 and tab across, and that will enter your date range. So a couple of keyboard hacks there for you. And I have one more to show you, since everybody does love a hack. And this is, you can see all the reporting shortcuts available by selecting Control/. So on my keyboard, it is Control/. It might be different on a PC. I am on a Mac. So just keep that in mind. But these are the keyboard shortcuts that you can use. So if you are in reports quite a lot, save yourself some time and maybe some mouse clicks by using those keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so they were the 2 shortcuts I was showing you. So let's look at how we can compare periods easily while we're sitting in here. I will just remove the tracking categories, and then I might actually update my date range to this financial year. And then with compare, because I've set my date range for the year, I can choose whether I want to compare it with other years. If I select it as a quarter, I can choose to compare the quarter or the year. And if I start with month, then I'll be able to flick between month, quarter, or year. So it's up to you how you want to compare the data that you're looking at, but it will be based off what date range you set here. So I'll go back to this financial year and we'll compare it with 2 years, and then we will click update. And you can see very quickly a comparison between this year and last year's amounts on the profit and loss. Okay, we're going to move on to adding totals and year-to-date columns. So if I go back to the common formats side panel, and I'm going to go back to my standard profit and loss report, get rid of all my filters that I've added in. And how we can add our total and year-to-date is very easily. We can click more. You can choose your accounting basis, whether that's accrual or cash, and then you can also add in your total and year-to-date. You do have some other options as well, but if you just want the total and year-to-date like it was in old reports, then you can select them from the list. So we'll click update, and there we have our total and our year-to-date. Now, the final old report feature that I'll show you is how to add comments and footnotes. There are a couple of simple ways that you can do this. First, you can add a note next to a figure. So if you see the figure there, you can see that it comes up with 3 stripes to indicate adding a note, and then you can enter a note down the bottom. So I clicked on other revenue. Let's actually click on the sales amount. Oh, I've clicked too far. I got click happy. So there's the account transactions report, actually, that one of you, that was the second most popular in the poll result. I'll just jump back to the profit and loss and add in my totals. Okay, so we will add our note for sales. And now you can see that there is a note applied. The more notes you add, the number will increase. Under insert content, this is if you've got the enable add note option ticked, that will allow you to add notes in Xero. Obviously, this being the demo company, that feature is already enabled for us. You can also add a text block and footer. So if you wanted to add your disclaimer down the bottom, you can do that as well. Now, just remember, once you have made all your changes, to save your reports. So I'm actually going to save this one as a custom report. So down the bottom right-hand corner, we've got draft, publish, and custom. So I'm going to make this custom, and I'm going to call it detailed. From here, you also have the option to make it the default. So anytime that someone runs the profit and loss in this organization, they will get the report that you've created for them. But I just want to keep this for me, so I'm just going to save it as an individual custom report. And it will appear once I refresh. If I go back to reports and I'll go back into the profit and loss, it will actually appear as a custom report on my side panel. So I'll go ahead, there we go. So custom report, profit and loss detailed. So when you do add those custom reports or save them, they will appear in the side panel there. And one more thing on custom reports, they are available to all users with reporting access. So there's no need for multiple users to recreate the same reports. As long as they have reporting access, they will be able to see these reports that you're creating. Okay, so those were the main examples of how we've built feature parity that matches some of the most popular features of old reports. But the new reports, as I said at the start, allows you to do much, much more. So we are going to take a look at some of the extra features in new reports and some recent reporting releases. So the extra features for new reports, these include options to group, move, and hide accounts, rename reports, add in page breaks, formulas, schedules, and extra columns, reorder and sort columns. And lastly, some of the reports have visual charts. So the business snapshot and the short-term cash flow, they have some charts that you can look at. So we will head back into Xero and take a look. Okay, so we're still in the profit and loss, and that is okay. But what I am going to do is go back to our standard profit and loss report. And I'm going to use the comparison for 1 month and then update that. I'm then going to edit the name. So all you need to do is click into the heading of profit and loss, and then you can retitle the name of the report. And we're now going to go into Layout Editor. Has anyone, let me know in the Q&A if you've used Edit Layout before. I'll give you a moment there, and it gives me an opportunity to have a little sip of water. Yep, so Tracy, Rona, Katie, you've used it. Shelley, you think it's fantastic, so that's great. Sandra, Josie, you've all used it as well. Margaret. So it looks like a lot of you joining today have used Edit Layout. So hopefully what I take you through, it's just a refresher for you, or you even pick up a little tip along the way. And then Michelle, you haven't used it, so that's great. 1 out of 20 that have replied in the Q&A that you haven't used Edit Layout. So it's a great opportunity for you to see how much further you can customize the reports with using Edit Layout. So we'll head to Edit Layout. And this is what the layout feature looks like. So up the top here, we've got the opportunity to add in a text block. We can add in a schedule. So schedule is just one of these, not sure what the official name is, but it's one of those options that you can add in if the report doesn't have the chart of accounts that you need to add in. You can then add in a footer. So we did add in a disclaimer when we were in the profit and loss, but we can also add one when we are in Edit Layout. You can add in rows. So under rows, you've got the option to group and add formula. So we'll look at those. And then under columns, there's quite a few different columns that you can add. So we'll look at adding a variance column. And then lastly is the page break. So I'll start with the page break. Actually, first, I'll show you what the report looks like when we export it to a PDF. So this is what we're working with. There's nothing wrong with this report, but we can definitely customize the look and feel of it for a particular client. So we'll go back to Edit Layout, and I'm going to add in a page break. Now, page break always, I didn't click in the right spot. So you can delete a page break. Anytime you do something, you can delete it. You need to click onto the line where you want your page break, and it will sit under. So what I've done is I've put it under gross profit. If you don't want it there, maybe you just want it under your operating expenses. So your operating expenses are on one page, and everything else, your trading income and your profit, they're all on another page. So we can do that. It's very easy to move where the page break sits. So if you do put in a page break and then you check the PDF and it doesn't look right, just come back into Edit Layout and move it up. That's all part of the customization that you can do. So that's us adding in a page break. Now we can add in our footer. So it'll go to the bottom. Let's add in our disclaimer. Oh, Nicole, learn to spell today. 3rd time's the charm. There we go. So we've added in our disclaimer. You can format it a bit. When I clicked into it, it does come up with some formatting. So if you want to add it bold or highlighted, italics, you can. So that was page break and footers. The next thing that we will look at is we're going to do some grouping and also add in a formula. So we go to rows at the top here. We'll start with a formula. So for a formula, it will always go down to the bottom of the page, and you just need to drag it up with your mouse. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to add in a gross profit percentage to calculate it for me. So you first need to give your row heading a name. So I'm just going to type gross profit and then do a percentage icon. And then here I'm going to insert my calculation, because this is a formula. So we need to tell the system what we want them to calculate, or how do we want them to calculate it. So under insert, I'm going to enter my calculation. And that's now added as a formula. So when we view it on the PDF, we're only going to see the percentage. Okay, so if we go back to rows, we're going to now group some of the accounts together. So when I click group, Again, we can just drag it down to where we want. I saw I've got 2 travel accounts that I want to group. So what I can do here, I can name my row, and then I can just move the accounts into that group. The other thing that you can do is if you can highlight shift and select all your accounts and then drag them into the group. So I'll do that. I think I saw, yeah, entertainment. So let's click the entertainment line and I'll go into a group, drag it down to entertainment. And then if I hold shift, it will highlight all my accounts, and then I can drop it into my group, and then I can give that group a name. Now you have the option to either leave it expanded. Oh, and Peter said he wasn't aware of the PDF box. So there we go. We've taught our experts a tip or two. So love that. Thank you for sharing, Peter. So with the grouped option, you can either leave it expanded. So when you run the report again, you'll see entertainment and entertainment non-deductible as split out accounts. But if you only want to show entertainment as one line, it'll all be grouped when it's like this. So when we look at the report again, we can see entertainment, all the accounts under entertainment will be grouped as one, but the travel's still going to be split out. So just keep that in mind when you are adding groups. If you minimize it, it'll only show one line, but if you expand it, it will stay expanded on the copy of the report that you generate. Okay, so let's now look at adding in a column. I'm going to choose variance. So for the first column, I'm going to select this month. So that's June. And then the second column will be May. And then I can choose whether I want this variance to be a figure or a percentage. So I'll go with percentage. And let's export this report to PDF again, and we can see what it looks like with all the changes. So we've got our page break in. Remember, I put it just above the operating expenses. We can see that we've got our variance column there, and we've got the green and red arrows that indicate visually if there's a positive or a negative variance. What else have we done? We did the travel. So this is the travel split out in a group. And then for entertainment up here, this one we close the group so it shows as one big total. So a few changes. The disclaimer is also down the very bottom there. So a few changes that I've made in a very short amount of time has changed the way that this report looks. So if you do spend a bit of time customizing it, you will give so much value to your clients when you are giving them copies of reports. So let's head back to our edit layout. Now, the one thing I did want to remove, because I've only got one sales amount, I'm not sure if you saw it on the report. I've only got one. No, other revenues popped up. It's because I'm doing a variance, that's right. Okay, so if you only had one sales line, you could just remove the total trading income to make it look really slick on the page, but we obviously have other revenues, so we definitely need to leave that line in. So I think I've done all the customization for this particular report. Obviously, you can spend quite a bit of time here. You can add in some more columns, depending how detailed you want to go. So when you're happy with everything, then you click Update Layout. If you click that before you've done all your changes, it's going to take you back to the reports. So just make sure you've done all your changes, and the final step is to click Update Layout. So this is our updated layout of the profit and loss. It does remind you to save a copy, or if you've done all that hard work in Layout Editor, you can save it as a custom report. So if I scroll down, there's our variance column. We've got our green arrows. We've got our red arrows. We can see entertainment, and then the travel is also split out. So at any time, if we realized we wanted to change something, we would just go back into Edit Layout to fix it. but I'm going to save this one as a custom report. So we have it in our list. So that's it for the edit layout that I'm going to show you. We have just focused on the profit and loss. Luckily, it was the report that you all said that you use the most, so I struck gold there. But there are a couple of different reports when you customize them, look a bit differently. So think of your transactional style reports, like the account transaction report that you got a sneak peek of before, and then the payables and receivables reports. So these reports work a little bit differently because they are arranged in a table format. So I'll head back to our report center and I'll open the account transaction report and we can take a quick look just at the couple of differences between what we just saw in the profit and loss. So I'll choose my sales account and then click update. On the left-hand side, you'll notice we do still have those common formats for this particular report, and any custom reports would be displayed here as well. So if I minimize that, we can see that when I do scroll across this report, because there's obviously lots of information in there, it does freeze the first column. So you'll notice if I do that again, it will freeze the panel. So you can always see what date the transaction is for. Okay, so what else can we do here? We can add some columns, or we can update our columns. So I'm going to remove a couple of these options, and then I'm going to add a contact. I'm going to add net related account, and let's add in our tracking. We'll go with region. For those of you who are using foreign currency, you've got that set up in Xero. You'll also get the ability to add a few more columns. So I will touch on that a little bit more, but they are in the columns list. So let's click update. And we can see that the information has changed from what I had originally. You can also reorder your columns. So if your columns are not in the order that you particularly like, you can move them around. So for example, if you wanted currency to be right next to date, or you wanted your region up there, all you need to do is just drag the column to where you want and then click apply. So here I can easily tell what region my sales are relating to, and also the currency, because in this demo company, I do have 2 currencies set up, and that's so you can see the transactions relating to multi-currency. If you're not seeing any options relating to foreign currency, then it's likely you don't have currencies set up in Xero. Okay, so from here, what else can we do? We can group. So under grouping and summarize, you can group by certain account codes. You can do your tracking if that's a way you want to group. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So these would be all unassigned, and then down the bottom here is South and West Coast. So you'll have more information, obviously, with the more that you use tracking within Xero. These will only show a few transactions because we are in fact using the demo company. If I go back to none, I can then choose my filters. So you can use filters. This might be a good way to find if you want to see sales by a customer for a certain amount. So if I go to contact, let's look at basket case, and then I only want to see amounts for $200 and over. So let's find the net amount. There it is. And if I put $200 here and leave this blank, Xero is going to filter this report and only show me transactions that have a value of $200 or more for this contact. So make sure any filter, column, or group you do, even date range, the last thing you click is update. Otherwise, it won't appear in the report. Okay, so we've got 2 transactions there for basket case, and they're both over the $200 mark. So that's how you could easily find a transaction if you've got lots of sales sales line items in this report. That's how you can filter it if you wanted to find something like a contact and how much they actually spent, or things like that. So there's definitely lots of filtering and options that you can play around with. But that's all I'm going to show you for today in the account transactions report. So we are going to move on to some of the releases, which I'm sure that you're going to love, or you might already know because you're definitely using edit layout. So I feel like I've got a good audience who keep up to date with everything Xero. So spoiler alert, you probably already know all of these, but for the few people that don't, let's take a look at what they are. So the first one is reporting preferences. So if I go to the accounting menu, we're not going to our report center. We're in fact going to advanced. And under advanced settings, we've got reporting preferences here. So what you can do here is actually set the default accounting basis for all the reports that are run in this particular organization, as well as you can choose how you want the report to display. So if your client is using the cash accounting basis, then you could select cash and apply it to all the reports. So it's just going to save you a click when you are running those reports. Same with accrual, you can set the default to accrual. So when you are generating reports like the profit and loss, it will automatically apply that reporting method. And then for the report display, if you want account codes to be included, you can add that. You can see a little preview over the right-hand side here, and also the accounting basis, which will be whatever you select up here. So once you've made your changes, you can click save. And then now when you run those reports, all your preferences will be saved. So that is a new release. We are going to head back to our report center now. And let's dive into management report pack. So you can see it under financial statements. There is a management report, or you can search for it. I have a bad habit because I know a lot of the report names. I just search for that. So while I'm here, I will point out for those of you who don't really know what the difference is between old and new reports, the easiest way to tell that something is an old report is when you see this notification to let you know that it is an old report. And if you click into it, let's click into an old report, you can definitely tell visually that this looks like it is an old report. It doesn't have the side panel. It doesn't have the ability to edit the layout or anything like that. So if you're seeing this style of report with the banner up the top here, it generally means it's an old report. And then in the new reports, they'll have all the customization. So the side panels, the ability to choose dates and common formats and columns and everything like that. So that's pretty much how you can tell what version of the report you're using, whether it's new or old. So this is the old management report pack, but I actually want to show you the new report pack. So if it doesn't have anything listed there, then that is the current report that you should be using. So let's go ahead and select it. So while you do have report templates in Xero HQ, you can use the management report pack if you want an option that can be accessed by your clients. So you can build out this management report pack and then they can run it and get all the information they need. So in the management report pack, there are 6 reports by default. So when I click the drop-down arrow, you can see you've got those 6 reports. You can reorder or remove reports if a report isn't necessary for your client, or you can add a report. So if we were to add, let's add our account transaction report. We now have 7 reports in our list, and we can move the order up. So for example, you could put your profit and loss and your balance sheet up the top of the report and leave the rest in that view. And you've now got the profit and loss as the first report that will be run in this report pack. The other thing, when you are setting your date range, it actually applies to the whole report pack. So for example, if I choose this financial year, and then click update. If I run any of the other reports, it automatically defaults to the date range of the first report. So keep that one in mind. When your pack is ready, so once you've done all your customization, you will be able to choose your custom reports too. So under add report, any report that you've got as a custom is up the top here. So they're the two that I created just earlier. So you can add custom reports as well as Xero standard reports. And there's a whole host. That's quite a big list there. When you're ready to publish it, you can export it if you want. So the export in the bottom right-hand corner to a styled PDF. So here, this is where you can add your watermark. So if you are closing off a financial year or a BAS period or whatever you're closing off for your client, maybe you're handing over the file for them to take to another accountancy firm, whatever the reason, you can add your watermark in draft, review, and final. And then you can include a contents page if you like, but I won't export that report. You've seen what PDF can do, but in a matter of minutes, you can create a really great management report pack that you can hand to your clients, especially if you put in the work with your customized reports at the start, and then you can build it out. The other thing that you can do, if I head back to the report center, I'm not sure if someone asked this question in the Q&A just before, but you can actually create your own management report pack. So instead of selecting this report, if you click the overflow menu and then you can click create new report pack, this will let you create your own custom report pack where you can build it out to the way you want. So you would just start by adding your report. So that one is new as well. And jumping back to Report Center, with the report packs, there's also one for bank reconciliation. I won't go into it, but I'll just type it in so you can see this is a report pack here, bank reconciliation. The other thing that you can do that's new is you can create your own report. So there is a blank report here. So when we go into it, it's starting from scratch. So you can use edit layout like we just did before in the profit and loss, and you can customize your own report from scratch. So that's an option you have if one of the many reports that Xero has isn't meeting your needs or the needs of your client. You can come and create your own custom report here. Okay, and I'm going to touch on a couple of new reports. So while they were all new, there have been updates to the journal report. So let's take a quick look at this one. So in the journal report, what's changed from the new to the old report, there's customizable columns. So under columns, you can choose to add your description if you want. Let's click update and see what it looks like. So that's given the report more information. You can still reorder your columns. You can add in your filters. And under more, you can choose whether just to view posted manual journals only. So a couple of updates in there, but definitely a report if you want to have a play around with what's changed. This one is one to do. If I jump back to reports, we've also got foreign currency. So I mentioned that when we were in the profit and loss. So we'll look at the receivables invoice summary. And in this report, we've also got more columns and grouping. So you can, if I scroll down the very bottom, there's all the foreign exchange columns that you can add in. So you can add in your currency rate, any discounts. You can also add in payments. So let's click update. And you can see you've got more information. And like in the account transaction report, when you scroll across, the first column is frozen so that you can still see what it's relating to. You can also, so we filtered on the currency option, but you can further filter by clicking filter. You can filter on your tracking categories, and you can also filter on your balance in your foreign currency as well. So there's a couple of options there. Actually, there's quite a few filtering options. I won't be going into any of those today, but you can definitely come in and have a look. When you are running a report, just check out the filter options and have a play around with. And last time, let's head back to reports. We've got the general ledger. So if I just type in general ledger, I'm not going to go into all three of the reports, but these three reports are new. So you've got the general ledger detail, the general ledger summary, and the exceptions report was only released last week. So that one was definitely by popular demand. We had the summary and details for a few weeks, and everyone was asking, when are we going to have the general ledger exceptions report available? And here it is. So if you haven't seen it, you didn't know it was out yet, well, now you can go in and check it out. And then the other report I just want to check was that realized gains and losses account. So let's just see if, yep, okay, so it is released. So this one is also new, the realized gains and losses. I won't have anything in there because I don't have any of those kinds of transactions in this demo company. But if you do, there'll be something in that report. So that is also new as well. Okay, so probably the last question you've got is, okay, Nicole, I'm using some old reports, but how do I get them into new reports? So if you do have a custom layout in, say, an old balance sheet, your budget variance, or even a profit and loss, we have built a simple conversion tool called the Layout Importer tool, which will let you recreate the format in a new report. So let's head back into Xero and we'll take a quick look at how you can actually use this importer tool. So we'll go back to reports and I'm going to choose the balance sheet. Now I am going to select an old version of the balance sheet just to show you where you can find this tool. Okay, so in the banner here, you're looking for bring standard and save layouts over to the new version. So once you select that, you'll be asked to choose your layout. So I've only got a standard balance sheet, but whatever layout you have for your report, it will display in the list. Then you can click next, and then you'll want to give it a unique name. So I'm just going to call it balance sheet in brackets old. And then once I save, my layout is going to be imported into the new version of the profit and loss. And then from here, I can add in any of my customization. So the important thing to keep in mind here is that the layout importer tool will look at rows and formats of your reports, and it imports these into the new version. So you will have access to the new reports and all the features that I've taken you through today, all while keeping the same format that you know and love. The only thing that you will need to enter is some of your settings and adding any columns, but the skeleton of your original report will be in there with any applicable rules that automatically were created and saved as a custom. You do also have this tips and tricks panel up the top right, so you can take a quick tour, you can set up and tailor your reports. There's another way you can bring layouts from older versions, and then we've also got some how-to videos as well. So if you do need more help with bringing your old reports over to the new version of reports, then you can use the tips and tricks panel. Okay, so that's it for our demos in Xero. I am going to recap what we covered today. It was definitely a lot of information, but all necessary information for you to know. So we did look at why we've made the change to new reports, remembering you do need to switch by 31 July this year. We covered the popular features in old reports, so like common formats, visual variances, dates, totals, and comments. And then we looked at how to find these when we were in new reports. We also covered some of the extra features that I know that you all loved because you told me in the Q&A. So that was the layout editor, and then also how to rename and reorder some of those columns on those reports. And then lastly, we looked at some of the new reports. So the new, I mentioned the general ledger reports, but we looked at the journal report and also the foreign currency report. So you also got some keyboard tips along the way. So what are your next steps after today's webinar? If you haven't already, try using the new reports. You can use the demo company like I have, go into edit layout and customize it. You can't break it. It is there for you to test out features like reporting. So go ahead and give it a go, especially if you're nervous about making any mistakes. Try it out in the demo company first. There's also resources available to you. So we do have a playlist of reporting videos on YouTube. So the playlist will look similar to this, and you can see a whole host of reports in the list. So Fiona's going to drop a link to the YouTube playlist into the chat panel where you can copy paste it. And if you're using a custom layout, you can use the layout importer tool to bring across anything old, like your old profit and loss, your budget variance, or your balance sheet to let you recreate that in the new format. And do keep in mind, you still have read-only access to any reports that you've published that are old. But if you have anything in draft, I recommend to publish them, because once 31 July passes, they will be removed from the system unless they're published.